Okay, hour number 3. Let's take a look at radiation from Fukushima here in the U.S. And with us tonight, as he is most every week, is Michael Collins, who, along with Denise, runs EnviroReporter.com. On the Internet, you can find that in the third featured story box at Rense.com, which describes the current issues of radioactivity on our ground, in our food, and elsewhere, coming over from Japan. And I put up another story that it'll be up, it should be up right now. In fact, let me see if it is. Ocean currents don't lie. Let's see if it's up there. There it is, number 3. Ocean currents don't lie. Fukushima radiation all over the Pacific. I put this story up a while back, but it's worth a rerun. Look at it, read it, understand how ocean currents work, understand that radioactivity is all over the Pacific now. Understand that the EPA refuses to test so much as one fish to protect us. They will not do it. The Canadians did. They tested a couple dozen fish. They wouldn't say where they got the fish. They did admit that the fish all had cesium, but don't worry, at levels far below that which could pose any harm to the public health at all. Of course, they missed the bigger issue, and the issue is, what is the cesium doing in the fish in the first place, and how did it get there? All right, let's say hello to Michael Collins. Welcome back.
Why, thank you, Jeff. You realize that we have a sort of an unholy anniversary tonight. Yesterday was the 9th month anniversary of Fukushima.
Wow.
And the beginning of the worst single environmental disaster in history.
Right.
And that's a disaster, as you well know, that's going to forever change this planet and everybody listening to this show. So what a way to meet you, Jeff. Yeah. We met in a hot zone, so here's a toast of an atomic cocktail to you and your listeners.
All too true. What we don't know, and I mean we, the world, most of all TEPCO, doesn't know where the melted cores are of reactors 1, 2, and 3. They know they've melted through. They've admitted over the months, many months, 9 months, that they did what many of us knew almost from the beginning, that this was a catastrophe. They've melted right through the reactor vessel itself down into the containment vessel, and they have at least eaten their way in an acknowledged fashion most of the way through the concrete. Of course, there are people who say it's well through the concrete. One professor said it's up to 20 meters below the concrete now, and that's called corium. When the core melts, all those rods melt, and it's down there burbling and bubbling away and looking for groundwater to unite with. And when it finds groundwater, it's going to go boom. It's going to be a hydrovolcanic blast, which could come up out of the ground with the force of a small volcano. We don't know. Meanwhile, Building 4, Reactor 4, is literally disintegrating. It's falling apart. And it has been said that if the spent fuel pool in Reactor Building 4 falls over and hits the ground, Yokohama and Tokyo are gone. Go ahead, Michael.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I have lost you.
Oh, all right. I just mentioned that.
I'm going to hang up the phone so you can call back.
All right. Okay, we're going to call Michael right back. Now, what I want to point out is there are things you should be doing to protect yourself. All right? All you have to do is scroll down to the radioactive symbol, third featured story box right there in the center of Rense.com at the top. Fukushima radiation in the U.S. and Canada. All right, look at the top right there. Jeff with Dr. Blaylock, supplements that protect against radiation. Really important. It's a video. By all means, look at it, write everything down you can, and then also look at the YouTube video box at the top of that column. Rense with Roland Thomas, anti-radiation superfood. This is a very big story. There's another one. You there, Michael?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry. The line was going in and out, and it finally just went out.
Well, they do that. Did you hear what I said about reactors 1, 2, and 3, the corium?
Oh, I sure did about the corium.
The only thing...
TEPCO can pretend that not pretend, they might not know where the corium is, but they certainly should know where the south wall of reactor 4, which you were talking about, it just fell off. And if people go and look at the photos that have come out on TBS and JNN of the building itself, you can see the spent fuel pool hanging there, suspended, open to the air. And like you said, if it collapses, maybe we lose eastern Japan. Now, if people wonder, now how does that matter to us? Because, hey, we're 9 months into this. I haven't experienced anything. Well, as faithful listeners to your show, Jeff, know we have had many, many indications of fallout, and quite intense fallout in the United States since this has happened. And down here at Radiation Station in Los Angeles, we've taken over 1,500 tests, and we found radiation in water, in rainwater, mist, food, a whole slew of Japanese products, including beer and sake and vegetable juice and sweet rolls and green tea and other teas, and many of these tests people can see. Now, because radiation is silent, you don't taste it, you can't see it, you can't feel it. It's very easy to think that this doesn't affect you. But there have been developments, not just that development there with that wall falling off of reactor 4, which is just astonishing that this is happening. But it is happening. In the last week, we're having a coup at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, which is our country's regulatory body over our nuclear power plant. And have you ever seen or listened to the NRC chairman, Gregory Jaczko, speak before, Jeff?
Oh, on clips. Not any long.
On clips, good. I was just checking if you were there because it's I can't tell if we cut out.
No, we're here.
However, he's your typical type of NRC guy. About a month and a half ago, he was asked by a student in an audience, so could you tell us, did anybody get hurt from the meltdowns, and is anybody going to get hurt? And he just broke out in laughter, and I thought, well, there's your NRC chairman. Well, apparently he had the temerity to say that the commission's not taking an approach that is as protective of public health and safety as I believe is necessary, is what he said. This set off just a storm in Washington with senators demanding his head on a plate. And his head will be delivered on a plate, and a former consultant to TEPCO will take over the NRC. Now, what this means, folks, is we're going to have more of what we've had for 9 months. We are going to have absolute denial. It doesn't exist. Nope, we're not paying attention. When people in the middle of the country get radiation readings 170 times more than normal,
right?
When a guy in Colorado today showed hot snow, but how hot, it's kind of hard to tell because of his use of his inspector, and it's a subject I'd actually like to touch on, which is how people can help improve the situation information-wise.
Yeah, if we can, Michael, hold on a second. We'll go right through the break. I want to make sure we get as much time as we can with you. But this Reactor 4 thing, and I've got it up there as the number one story right now in headlines. I want you to go look at that. Sometime between the 5th and the 12th of this month, and we're talking 1 week, the wall has disintegrated, fallen apart. Now, even before the wall fell, you could see the spent fuel pool. And for those of you who don't know or don't remember, they insanely put the swimming pools, these storage pools, for these spent fuel rods up in the air, 3 to 4 stories high, in these absolutely asinine reactor designs. If this spent fuel pool falls, it's over for Tokyo and Yokohama. There's no question. And I see it's actually in print when I put the story up for the first time clearly now. This is what's going to happen. That's how close Japan is to losing Honshu. All right, go ahead, please.
Well, what you're saying is just 9 months ago, I would not have believed that I'd even hear anybody say that. But that is the case. The design of that reactor, General Electric, Mark I reactor, and with this incredible design of having the reactor core, the working part of the reactor, in the same building as the spent fuel pond, which is above it. So the first three reactors, 1, 2, and 3, were built by, actually 1 and 2 were built by General Electric, but number 4 is Hitachi, but still a Mark I design. Now, people are probably going, well, wait a minute, a spent fuel pool. How could that be such a problem? Well, actually, folks, spent fuel is far more radioactive than even that corium that's burned its way out of the complex and is doing something in that groundwater. And,
right.
you know, right. Jeff is very eloquent in trying to describe to you what's going to happen, but it's going to be old unfaithful. And what will happen is, it'll happen. And mainstream media has been much better of late covering what's happening in Japan. But what's happening here in America, you're not going to know.
Nothing.
Because the whole idea is that because this didn't stay on the front page of the news, it must have gone away. And so the powers that be, and certainly the nuclear industry, are very aware of this, that most people aren't even thinking about this. So, you know, they'll just balance it with any old other disaster. But this is the single most severe environmental disaster in history.
The spent fuel pools contain hundreds of tons of these pencil, about the size of a pencil, a little bit bigger, 12-foot long rods. They actually convert during the process of fueling the plant into, as Michael said, far more deadly forms. There are also, I'm told, in this particular spent fuel pool, some brand new rods which were stored in there as well. Obviously, plutonium is a factor. We know that. We have seen pictures of the top of the fuel pool from the drone helicopter, small one, little model, and other pictures taken above. And the tops of the actual fuel rods are supposed to have a round, uniform cap, as it were, that you attach a crane to and lift them straight up, drop them straight down. They're almost all gone. They're not there. They're gone. The earthquake, they're gone. And the rods themselves have been exposed to the air. They can't keep them adequately cool. They can't keep them adequately covered up, and the building is disintegrating. It's very simple. And when that fuel pool went critical, and it did go critical, it started to eat up the metal. It degrades and decays the steel, and that's why the building is falling apart. One of the reasons.
You look at this thing, and it begs credulity on the activities of TEPCO at the site. Now, I can understand them putting up these sort of flimsy-sided walls and roofs to a couple of these reactors. They look better. They look better to take pictures of.
Number 1 looks pretty spiffy, doesn't it? Yeah.
Doesn't it? Doesn't that look great? But the idea that they can't keep this fuel pool cool when the wall's missing and you could be just shooting water into it, it's like, why can't it be cooled that way? Now, we do know that that's what they did for such a long time, that hundreds of thousands, millions of gallons of highly radioactive goo went slushing into the Pacific. Of course, they always like to say things like, you know, just a few thousand gallons of strontium-90 laced water got into the Pacific a few days ago. We won't let it happen again.